The great crystal hall of the Vorthon flagship stretched longer than a city block. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the floating seats that surrounded the center platform. Their voices created a low buzz that echoed off the transparent walls. Today was not an ordinary court session. Today, the daughter of Emperor Deho would face judgment. Princess Nari stood in the center of the hall. Her hands were bound with energy chains that glowed blue against her dark skin. She wore simple gray clothes instead of her royal robes. Her long black hair hung loose around her shoulders. She looked small and alone in the vast space. Emperor Deho sat on his throne high above the crowd. The throne was made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. His face showed no emotion as he looked down at his daughter. He had ruled the Vorthon Empire for 300 years. His word was law across 50 star systems. But today, his own child had brought shame to his house. Princess Nari of House Deho, the court announcer called out. His voice boomed through the hall. You stand accused of violating the Prime Directive. You have interfered with a primitive species. You have shared forbidden knowledge. You have brought dishonor to the Vorthon Empire. Nari lifted her head. Her eyes met her father's gaze. She did not look sorry. She did not look afraid. This made Emperor Deho's anger burn hotter. The prosecutor stepped forward. He was a tall Vorthon with silver skin and cold blue eyes. Your Majesty, he said with a bow, we have proof of the princess's crimes. Show the evidence. A large hologram appeared above Nari's head. The crowd gasped as images began to play. They saw Nari on a blue and green planet, Earth. She was walking beside a human male with brown hair and kind eyes. The human was young, maybe 25 Earth years old. His name was Ji-won. In the hologram, Nari was explaining how their ships worked. She drew diagrams in the dirt. She showed him star maps. The human listened with wonder in his eyes. He asked questions that made Nari smile. This is forbidden, someone in the crowd whispered. How could she do this? Another voice said. The images changed. Now they showed Nari and Ji-won sitting under Earth's yellow sun. She was teaching him about other worlds, about the great cities that floated in space, about the millions of species that lived among the stars. Ji-won held her hand as she spoke. Emperor Deho's crystal throne flashed red. His anger was growing. The hologram showed more scenes. Nari defending humans at a small meeting with other survey officers. She argued that humans were not as primitive as everyone thought. She said they had potential. She said they deserved a chance to join galactic society. Lies, the prosecutor said. Humans are Class 7 primitives. They barely have space flight. They fight wars over small pieces of land. They pollute their own planet. They are not ready for galactic contact. They may never be ready. The final image was the worst. It showed Nari kissing Ji-won goodbye before returning to her ship. The crowd made sounds of disgust. A Vorthon princess loving a primitive human was beyond their understanding. The hologram faded away. The hall became silent. All eyes turned to Emperor Deho. His daughter's crimes were clear. The evidence could not be denied. Nari, Emperor Deho said. His voice was cold as space ice. What do you say to these charges? Nari straightened her back. I say I did what was right, father. Gasps echoed through the hall. She had called him father instead of your majesty. She showed no respect for the court. Right? Emperor Deho stood up from his throne. You think it was right to break our most sacred law? You think it was right to share our secrets with animals? They are not animals, Nari said loudly. Humans are intelligent. They are creative. They solve problems in ways we never thought of. They have something we have lost. What could they possibly have that we lack? The prosecutor demanded. Hope, Nari answered. They believe they can become better. They work together to solve problems. They do not give up when things get hard. They dream of touching the stars. Emperor Deho laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Dreams? We gave up dreams long ago, child. Dreams are for primitives. We deal in facts, in power, in order. Maybe that is why our empire grows weak, Nari said. Maybe that is why we have not had a new idea in 1,000 years. The crowd roared with anger. How dare she insult the great Vorthan Empire? How dare she suggest that primitives were better than them? Emperor Deho raised his hand. The crowd became quiet. You choose these humans over your own people, he said. You choose a primitive lover over your royal blood. You bring shame to our house. I choose what is right over what is easy, Nari replied. Then you are no daughter of mine. The words hit Nari like a physical blow, but she did not fall. She did not cry. She stood straight and proud. Emperor Deho gestured to the guards. Strip her of her titles, take her royal marks, remove all advanced technology from her body. The guards moved forward. They used energy, tools to remove the small devices implanted in Nari's body, the translator that let her speak any language, the health monitor that kept her safe from disease, the neural link that connected her to the ship's computers. Each removal hurt, but Nari did not make a sound. You love primitives so much, Emperor Deho said. Live as one. You are banished to Earth. You may never return to Vorthan space. You may never contact our people. You may never use advanced technology again. He threw a small package at her feet. Basic survival gear. Food for 1 week. After that, you are on your own. The energy chains around Nari's hands disappeared. She picked up the package. It was so light. Everything she had ever known, everything she had ever owned, was being taken away. Father, she said one last time, you are making a mistake. Humans will surprise you. The only mistake I made was not stopping you sooner, Emperor Deho replied. Guards, take her to the transport ship. Dump her on that primitive world with her precious humans. As the guards led Nari away, she looked back at her father one final time. I will prove you wrong, she said. Humans are stronger than you think, and when they reach the stars, they will be better than us. Emperor Deho turned away. He could not look at his daughter anymore. Take her away, he commanded. The great crystal doors closed behind them. Princess Nari was gone. In a few hours, she would be alone on a primitive world, with nothing but the clothes on her back and a week's worth of food. But she was not afraid. She had Jiwon. She had hope. And she had seen something in humans that her father could not understand. She would prove that love was stronger than pride. That hope was more powerful than tradition. That sometimes the primitives were right and the advanced were wrong. The transport ship carried her toward Earth, toward her new life, toward a future that would change the galaxy forever. 5 years had passed since Nari was thrown from the transport ship onto Earth's surface. She remembered that first night clearly. Cold rain had soaked through her gray prison clothes. She had no money, no identification, no way to prove who she was. For the first time in her life, she was truly alone, but Jiwon had found her. He always said it was luck that brought him to that empty field outside Seoul. Nari knew better. Love had guided him to her. Now she sat in their small apartment, watching the morning sun paint the city in golden light. The apartment had 2 rooms, a tiny kitchen, and windows that looked out over the busy streets below. It was smaller than her old bedroom on the flagship. It was also the happiest place she had ever known. The coffee is ready, Jiwon called from the kitchen. He spoke in Korean now. Nari had learned the language the hard way, without her translator implant. Every word had been a struggle at first. Now, Korean felt as natural as her birth language. Jiwon brought her a steaming cup. He was 30 now, with kind eyes and gentle hands. Working as an engineer had given him small lines around his eyes from squinting at blueprints. Nari loved every line. "How did you sleep?" he asked, sitting beside her on their old couch. "The baby was active again," Nari said, placing her, hand on her growing belly. "I think she was trying to kick her way out. They had discovered the pregnancy 3 months ago." The doctor had been confused by some of the test results. Nari's biology was mostly human now, but some Vorthon traits remained. The baby would be something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. "She will be strong," Jiwon said, covering Nari's hand with his own. "Like her mother." "Like her father, too," Nari replied. "Humans have a strength my people forgot long ago." Jiwon kissed her forehead. "I have to go to work." "The new fusion project needs more calculations today," Nari nodded. Jiwon worked for Korea's National Space Development Program. She had helped him get the job by suggesting he apply his engineering skills to space technology. She could not directly share Vorthan science, but she could ask the right questions. She could point human minds toward the right answers. After Jiwon left, Nari prepared for her own work. She had become a translator for international conferences. Her gift for languages made her valuable, even without alien technology. She helped diplomats and scientists from different countries understand each other, but her real work happened in the evenings. That was when she and Jiwon would sit together, and she would carefully guide his brilliant mind toward breakthrough discoveries. "What if," she would say, "energy could be bent like light through a prism?" "Interesting," Jiwon would reply, already thinking. "If we could curve space-time in a controlled way?" She never gave him answers. She only asked questions. The solutions came from human creativity and determination. This was important. Humanity had to earn their place among the stars through their own efforts. 3 months later, their daughter was born. They named her Sumin, which meant pure and clever. The moment Nari held her baby, she knew this child would change everything. Sumin had her father's kind eyes, but they held an unusual depth. By 6 months old, she was already showing signs of advanced intelligence. She could solve simple puzzles that should have challenged 3-year-olds. She seemed to understand both Korean and English without being taught. More importantly, Sumin had a gift for bringing different ideas together. When she played with blocks, she built structures that were both beautiful and practical. When she drew pictures, they showed impossible things that somehow made perfect sense. "She sees connections we miss," Jiwon said one evening as they watched 2-year-old Sumin build a tower that defied gravity, but somehow stayed standing. "She has the best of both worlds," Nari agreed. Human creativity and Vorthan logic working together. As Sumin grew, the world around them began to change. The space program where Jiwon worked made breakthrough after breakthrough. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim developed new materials that were stronger than anything previously known. Dr. Minji Park created energy systems that seemed impossible just years before. But the breakthroughs were happening everywhere, not just in Korea. Scientists in America discovered new principles of physics. European researchers solved problems with fusion power. Chinese engineers built computers that thought in ways no one had imagined. Humanity was awakening. "It is like watching flowers bloom," Nari told Jiwon one night. "Your species is growing so fast." "We had good teachers," Jiwon replied. "People who asked the right questions." Nari knew he was not just talking about her. Around the world, other exiled beings had found refuge on Earth. Not many, but enough. A few researchers who had disagreed with galactic policy, some diplomats who believed in species equality, even a handful of traders who saw potential profits in human development. They all worked carefully, quietly. They asked questions. They suggested new approaches. They inspired human minds to reach further than ever before. The results were amazing. In just 5 years, humanity had advanced centuries. They were on the edge of developing faster-than-light communication. Their fusion reactors were cleaner and more efficient than most galactic civilizations managed. Their computer systems were starting to show signs of true artificial intelligence. Most importantly, humans had kept their essential nature. They still dreamed big dreams. They still worked together to solve impossible problems. They still refused to give up when others said something could not be done. 4-year-old Suman was becoming a bridge between worlds. She could speak with the few aliens who visited Earth in secret. She could explain human ideas in ways that made sense to non-human minds. She could translate concepts that had no words in any single language. "Mama," Suman said one evening as they walked through a soul park. "When will we go to the stars?" "Soon, little one," Nari replied. "Humans are almost ready." "Will Grandpa Daiho like me?" Suman asked. Nari stopped walking. She had told Suman stories about her grandfather, the powerful emperor who ruled among the stars. But she had never expected this question. "I do not know," Nari said honestly. "He is very proud and very set in his ways." "But I am half human," Suman said with a smile. "Maybe I can show him that humans are good." Looking at her daughter, Nari felt hope bloom in her chest. Suman was right. She was living proof that humans and Vorthons could create something beautiful together. She was evidence that love was stronger than prejudice. That night, Jiwon brought home exciting news. "The Deep Space Communication Array is ready for testing," he said. "If it works, we will be able to send messages beyond the solar system." Nari's heart raced. Once humans achieved faster-than-light communication, the galaxy would notice. There would be no hiding humanity's progress anymore. "Are you ready?" Jiwon asked, seeing her expression. Nari looked at Suman, who was building impossible structures with her blocks. She looked at Jiwon, whose brilliant mind had helped humanity leap forward. She thought about all the humans around the world who were reaching toward the stars. "Yes," she said. "We are all ready. The test would happen tomorrow, and tomorrow everything would change." The Deep Space Communication Array hummed with power. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim watched the energy readings climb higher and higher. Beside him, Dr. Minji Park checked the quantum stabilizers one final time. They had worked for 3 years to reach this moment. "All systems are ready," Dr. Park announced to the control room. "Beginning faster-than-light transmission test in 10 seconds. Jiwon stood with the other engineers, his heart pounding. If this worked, humanity would join the ranks of spacefaring civilizations. If it failed, they might have to wait decades for another chance. 5 seconds, Dr. Kim called out. 3, 2, 1, transmit. A brilliant flash filled the array chamber. Energy patterns that had never existed on Earth before danced through specially designed crystals. The message was simple. "Hello from Earth. We are ready to join you among the stars." For 3 long minutes, nothing happened. Then the receivers began picking up signals. Not just one signal, but dozens. Messages poured in from across the galaxy, all directed at the small blue planet that had just announced its presence. "We did it," Dr. Park whispered. "We actually did it." The celebration in the control room lasted only moments. Within hours, alien ships began appearing at the edge of the solar system. Most kept their distance, observing and analyzing, but a few sent small craft toward Earth carrying diplomatic messages. 10 years had passed since Princess Nari's exile. Her daughter Suman was now 14, tall for her age, with bright, intelligent eyes that seemed to see everything. She had grown up knowing she was different, special, a bridge between 2 worlds. "The aliens are coming to talk," Suman told her parents that evening. They sat in their apartment watching news reports about the first confirmed alien contact in human history. "Are you nervous?" Jiwon asked his daughter. "No," Suman replied. "I have been waiting for this my whole life." Nari smiled at her daughter's confidence. Over the years, Suman had met several of the secret alien visitors to Earth. She had learned to speak their languages and understand their cultures. Now that skill would be needed more than ever. The first official contact took place in Geneva, Switzerland. Representatives from 12 different alien species came to meet with human leaders. So-min was there as a translator, the only person on Earth who could communicate with all the visiting species. The meeting did not go as expected. "Your species has made remarkable progress," said Ambassador Takei from the Kelvin Federation. He was a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms. "But we must verify that you achieved this advancement legitimately." "What do you mean?" asked the Human Secretary General. "Some species cheat," explained Ambassador Wanho from the Spiral Alliance. "His people look like giant butterflies with jeweled wings. They steal technology or receive illegal help from advanced civilizations." Su-min stepped forward. At 14, she was the youngest person in the room, but her voice carried authority beyond her years. "Humans did not cheat," she said in perfect Kelvin standard. "They solved every problem themselves. They earned every breakthrough through their own intelligence and hard work." "You speak our language very well for a human child," Ambassador Takei observed. "I am half human," Su-min replied calmly. "My mother is Vorthon." The room fell silent. Several aliens stepped backward. The Vorthons were known throughout the galaxy as proud, powerful, and completely opposed to contact with primitive species. "That explains much," Ambassador Wanho said. "The Vorthons must have shared their technology illegally." "No," Su-min said firmly. "My mother was exiled 10 years ago for refusing to follow Vorthon policy. She has never shared advanced technology with humans. She only asked questions that helped humans think in new ways." To prove her point, Su-min had brought human scientists to demonstrate their discoveries. Dr. Kim showed how humans had developed fusion power by studying the sun's natural processes. Dr. Park explained how they had created faster than light communication by combining quantum physics with mathematics that no other species had considered. "Fascinating," Ambassador Takei admitted. "Your approaches are completely different from standard galactic methods." "Different but effective," added Ambassador Wanho. "Perhaps more effective than our traditional ways." Over the following months, more alien delegations arrived on Earth. They came to study human technology and culture. What they found amazed them. Humans had not just copied existing galactic science. They had developed entirely new approaches to old problems. Their fusion reactors were smaller and safer than anything the galaxy had seen. Their computer systems worked in ways that seemed impossible, but produced incredible results. Most surprising was human society itself. While most galactic civilizations were ruled by kings, emperors, or rigid councils, humans had hundreds of different governments. They argued and debated and sometimes fought, but they also shared knowledge freely between nations. "They make it work somehow," Ambassador Takei reported to his home world. "Their chaos produces more innovation than our order." Dr. Hyunwoo Kim became famous throughout the galaxy for his materials research. His techniques for creating super-strong alloys were studied by civilizations that had been working with metal for millions of years. Dr. Minji Park's energy systems were copied by dozens of species. Her fusion reactors powered everything from space stations to entire planets, but the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Su-min, working with human and alien scientists, developed a new type of hyperspace engine. It was smaller, faster, and more efficient than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "How did you think of this?" asked Dr. Boram Lee, one of Korea's top physicists. "I combined human creativity with Vorthon logic," Su-min explained. "Humans think of space as something to travel through. Vorthons think of it as something to manipulate. When you put both ideas together, you get something new." The first human hyperspace test was scheduled for the following month. If successful, humans would be able to travel to other star systems in days instead of centuries. News of the test spread throughout the galaxy. Some species were excited to welcome humans as equals. Others were worried about what these innovative newcomers might do to galactic stability. In the Vorthon Empire, Emperor Daiho received daily reports about human progress. Each report made him more uncomfortable. The primitive species he had dismissed was proving to be anything but primitive. "Your Majesty," his chief advisor said carefully, "perhaps we should reconsider our position on the human question." "Absolutely not," Emperor Daiho replied. "They are still primitives. They are still beneath our notice." But privately, the emperor was beginning to doubt his own words. The humans were achieving things that even the mighty Vorthon Empire had not accomplished. Their hybrid daughter was solving problems that had puzzled galactic scientists for centuries. Most disturbing of all, other species were starting to adopt human methods. The rigid order that had kept the galaxy stable for millennia was beginning to change. The day of the hyperspace test arrived. Suman stood in the control room beside her parents, watching as human engineers prepared to make history. The test ship was small, carrying only instruments and a message of greeting for the Alpha Centauri system. "Beginning hyperspace jump in. 10 seconds, announced the mission commander. The ship vanished in a flash of blue light. For 30 seconds, space was empty. Then the ship reappeared exactly where it was supposed to be. "Jump successful," came the radio message from the test. "Pilot. Alpha Centauri system reached and message delivered. Total travel time, 4 minutes and 37 seconds. The galaxy had a new spacefaring species, and these newcomers were going to change everything. As celebrations erupted around Earth, Nari held her family close. Her exile had led to this moment. Her love for a human had created the bridge that would connect two worlds. Soon, her father would have to acknowledge what she had always known. Humans were not primitives. They were the future. Emperor Daiho stared at the holographic reports floating before his throne. Each one brought worse news than the last. The humans had not only achieved hyperspace travel, they had done it better than civilizations with millions of years of experience. "Your Majesty," his chief advisor, Counselor Jinwoo, said carefully, "the humans have shared their hyperspace engine design with 17 different species. They are asking for nothing in return." "Impossible," Emperor Daiho snapped. "No species gives away advanced technology for free. They must want something. According to our spies, they truly want nothing except friendship and knowledge exchange. They say that sharing technology makes everyone stronger." Emperor Daiho stood up from his crystal throne and walked to the great window. Outside, the Vorthan homeworld stretched to the horizon. Perfect cities with perfect buildings filled with perfect citizens who never questioned, never innovated, never dreamed of anything beyond what their ancestors had achieved. "What else do the reports say?" he asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. "Human culture is spreading, Your Majesty. The Kelvin Federation has started using human-style democratic councils instead of hereditary rule. The Spiral Alliance is adopting human scientific methods. Even the proud Crystalline Empire is asking humans for advice on improving their technology." Emperor Daiho's hands clenched into fists. The galaxy had been stable for 10,000 years under the old ways. Every species knew their place. Every civilization followed the established rules. Now these humans were destroying everything with their dangerous ideas about equality and cooperation. "There is more, Your Majesty," Counselor Jinwoo continued. "Reluctantly, our own outer colonies are requesting permission to trade with humans. Some of our younger citizens are asking why we do not share the human friendship. Because we are Vorthans," Emperor Daiho roared. "We are the rulers of this galaxy. We do not make friends with primitives." But even as he said the words, Emperor, Daiho knew they sounded hollow. The humans were clearly not primitives anymore. Maybe they never had been. On the other side of the galaxy, the Galactic Council was meeting in emergency session. Representatives from 500 species filled the Great Assembly Hall on the neutral world of Concordia. The topic of discussion was the same everywhere: what to do about the humans. "They are dangerous," declared Ambassador Sang-hoon from the Rigid Hierarchy Alliance. His people looked like living metal sculptures with glowing eyes. They spread chaos wherever they go. They make our citizens question the natural order. They offer solutions to problems we have struggled with for centuries, countered Ambassador Minho from the Progressive Coalition. His species resembled tall trees with silver bark and golden leaves. My people's energy crisis was solved in weeks using human methods. The debate raged for hours. Some species wanted to contain the human influence before it spread further. Others argued that humanity represented the future of galactic civilization. Ambassador Seonho from the Ancient Watchers stood to speak. His people were among the oldest in the galaxy, mysterious beings of pure energy who rarely involved themselves in politics. We have observed the rise and fall of thousands of civilizations, he said in a voice like distant thunder. Most follow the same pattern. They achieve technology, then stagnate. They build empires, then decay. They reach for the stars, then forget how to dream. The assembly hall grew quiet. When the Ancient Watchers spoke, everyone listened. Humans are different, Ambassador Seonho continued. They achieve technology but keep improving it. They build cooperation but maintain diversity. They reach for the stars and then reach further. They represent something we have not seen in 1,000,000 years. What is that? Asked Ambassador Sang-hoon. Evolution. True evolution. Not just of their bodies or their tools, but of their ideas and their spirit. They are what we all could become if we stopped fearing change. The words hit the assembly like a shockwave. Many species had grown comfortable with their limitations. They had accepted that progress was slow, that innovation was rare, that the old ways were the best ways. The question before us, Ambassador Seonho said, is whether we will learn from them or try to destroy them. Meanwhile, on Earth, Sumin was growing into her role as humanity's ambassador to the galaxy. At 15, she had already visited 12 different worlds and spoken with leaders from dozens of species. Her unique perspective as a human-Vorthon hybrid made her invaluable. The Centauri Federation wants to establish a permanent embassy on Earth, she reported to her parents over dinner. They say human ideas about individual rights are revolutionizing their society. That is wonderful, Nari said, but her expression was worried. What about the opposition? There must be species that do not welcome these changes. Some resist, Sumin admitted. The Rigid Hierarchy Alliance is trying to form a coalition against human influence. They say we are destroying galactic stability. Jiwon put down his chopsticks. Are we really changing things that much? Yes, Papa, Sumin said with a smile. And it is a good change. For too long, the galaxy has been ruled by fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of change, fear of losing power. Humans show that cooperation is stronger than control. That night, as Sumin slept, Nari and Jiwon talked about the future. They knew that the growing tension in the galaxy would eventually reach a breaking point. Some species would accept humanity as equals. Others would try to force the old ways back into place. What will your father do? Jiwon asked. The Vorthon Empire is the most powerful military force in the galaxy. I do not know, Nari said honestly. His pride has always been his weakness. Admitting he was wrong about humans would be admitting that his entire worldview is flawed. But he is smart, Jiwon said. He must see what is happening. Intelligence and wisdom are different things, Nari replied. My father has always been intelligent, but wisdom requires humility, and that is something he has never learned. Far away, Emperor Daeho was receiving his most disturbing report yet. His own daughter had become a legendary figure throughout the galaxy. Songs were sung about the Vorthon princess who chose love over power. Stories were told about her wisdom and courage. Worse, these stories were inspiring other Vorthons. Young, People in the outer colonies were asking why they could not follow Princess Nari's example. Some were even leaving Vorton space to live among humans and other species. The Empire is weakening from within, Counselor Jinwoo reported. Our rigid control is creating resentment instead of stability. Then we must restore order, Emperor Daiho declared. Prepare the fleet. We will show the galaxy what happens when primitives forget their place. Your Majesty, Counselor Jinwoo said carefully. Are you certain this is wise? The humans have many allies now. A military action could unite the entire galaxy against us. Let them unite, Emperor Daiho said coldly. We are Vorthons. We have ruled this galaxy for millennia. A few primitive upstarts will not change that. But deep in his heart, Emperor Daiho was not as confident as he sounded. The reports about human achievements were impossible to ignore. Their technology was advancing faster than any species in galactic history. Their alliances were growing stronger every day. Most troubling of all, his own people were beginning to doubt. The absolute loyalty that had held the Vorthon Empire together was starting to crack. As he prepared for war, Emperor Daiho wondered if he was making the greatest mistake of his long life. But his pride would not let him back down. He was the Emperor of the Vorthons. He would not bow to primitives, no matter how advanced they had become. The galaxy was about to learn whether the old ways of power and control could survive against the new ways of cooperation and growth. The test would come sooner than anyone expected. The alarms began screaming across Earth's defense stations at exactly 14:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Massive hyperspace signatures were appearing at the edge of the solar system. Not one or two ships, but hundreds. This is Admiral Chen at Luna Base, came the urgent transmission. We have multiple fleets dropping out of hyperspace. Configuration unknown. Intent unknown. In Seoul, Su Min was in the middle of a diplomatic meeting with representatives from the Kelvin Federation when the emergency broadcast reached them. At 16, she had grown tall and graceful, with her mother's intelligence and her father's kind heart. But now her face showed worry. I need to get to the command center, she told the alien diplomats. If this is what I think it is, everything we have built together is about to be tested. The largest fleet bore the crystal formations of Vorthon warships. Emperor Daiho had come to Earth personally, bringing with him the might of an empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. His flagship was a mountain of living crystal that could destroy planets. But he was not alone. As the hours passed, more fleets arrived. Ships from dozens of species that had allied themselves with humanity. The Progressive Coalition had sent their entire defensive force. The Kelvin Federation brought their most advanced vessels. Even the mysterious ancient Watchers had sent representatives. On the other side, the rigid hierarchy alliance had joined Emperor Daiho. Their metal ships formed perfect geometric patterns beside the Vorthon crystal fleet. They had come to restore the old order, to put humanity back in its place. The two sides faced each other across the space between Mars and Jupiter. Hundreds of ships representing the future of galactic civilization. War seemed inevitable. Then, a new signal appeared. A small ship, not much larger than a human shuttle, emerged from hyperspace between the two fleets. It transmitted on all frequencies, requesting permission to approach Earth. This is Princess Nari, came the transmission that made Emperor Daiho's heart stop. I request safe passage to speak with all parties. I come not as a conqueror or a subject, but as a bridge between worlds. Nari had not been idle during her years on Earth. Through secret channels, she had built relationships with progressive leaders throughout the galaxy. She had shared her observations of human development, her insights into their potential. Now those allies had come to stand with humanity. Emperor Daiho's face appeared on the main communication screen, his expression cold as space ice. Daughter, he said, making the word sound like a curse. You have caused enough trouble. Surrender yourself, and perhaps I will show these primitives mercy." "I am no longer your daughter," Nari replied calmly. "You made that clear 15 years ago." "But I am still a citizen of the galaxy, and I have something to show you." Her small ship approached Earth's orbital station. As it drew closer, other ships became visible in its wake. Not warships, but vessels carrying families. Vorthon families. Citizens of the outer colonies, Nari announced. People who chose to leave the Empire and join the galactic community. They came to see the world that their princess chose over a throne. Emperor Deho watched in shock as thousands of his former subjects emerged from the ships. They had given up their Vorthon citizenship to live freely among other species. They had abandoned the Empire's rigid hierarchy for the chaos and opportunity of democratic societies. "You see, Father," Nari continued, "your empire is already crumbling, not from outside attack, but from the inside. Your people want what humans offer: hope, freedom, and the chance to become something more than they were born to be." The space station's docking bay opened to receive Nari's ship. As she stepped out, she was not alone. Jiwan walked beside her, now enhanced with biotechnology that allowed him to survive in space. But it was the young woman with them who drew every eye. Suman had grown into a striking figure, tall and confident, with features that clearly showed her mixed heritage. She moved with her mother's grace, but carried herself with uniquely human determination. "Grandfather," Sumin said, her voice carrying across all communication channels. "I am Sumin, daughter of Nari and Jiwon. I am your granddaughter, and I am human." The words hit Emperor Deho like a physical blow. This magnificent young woman, this bridge between species, was his own blood. She represented everything he had tried to deny for 15 years. "You are an abomination," Emperor Deho said, but his voice lacked its usual conviction. "I am the future," Suman replied simply. "I am proof that different species can create something beautiful together. I am evidence that love is stronger than prejudice." Around the solar system, both fleets watched as the family drama played. Out on their screens, this was not the military confrontation anyone had expected. This was a test of ideas, of values, of what the galaxy could become. "Show them," Nari said to her daughter. Suman activated a holographic projector. Images appeared in space between the fleets, visible to all. They showed human cities where aliens lived and worked alongside humans. They showed joint research projects solving problems that had puzzled the galaxy for centuries. They showed children of different species playing together, learning from each other. "This is what we have built in just 15 years, Suman announced. "Not through conquest or control, but through cooperation and respect. Humans do not want to rule the galaxy. They want to help it grow." The images showed more. Human doctors treating alien patients. Human engineers working with alien scientists to build better technology. Human artists creating new forms of beauty by combining different cultural traditions. "Your report spoke of chaos," Nari said to her father. "What do you see here?" Emperor Daiho stared at the images. He had expected to find humans corrupting the galaxy with primitive ideas. Instead, he saw a renaissance. Species that had been stagnant for millennia were growing, learning, becoming more than they had ever been. "Humans ask questions," Suman explained. "They wonder what if and why not, and how can we do this better. They do not accept that something is impossible just because it has never been done before." More ships were arriving. Not warships, but civilian vessels carrying beings from across the galaxy who had come to witness this moment. They had come to see whether the old ways of fear and control would win, or whether the new ways of hope and cooperation would triumph. "You have a choice, Father," Nari said quietly. "You can try to destroy what we have built and watch the galaxy tear itself apart in civil war, or you can join us in building something better." Emperor Daiho looked at his daughter, at his granddaughter, at the human who had somehow earned their love. He looked at the images of cooperation and growth. He looked at his own people, many of whom had already chosen to leave his empire for something better. For the first time in his long life, the Emperor of the Vorthons did not know what to do. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, waiting for his decision. Emperor Daiho stood alone on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, his officers waited for orders. Behind him, the massive Vorton fleet waited for his command to attack. But the Emperor's eyes were fixed on the holographic images still floating in space. He watched human children learning alongside young aliens from a dozen different species. He saw his own former subjects working happily in human cities, building lives they could never have imagined under his rule. He watched his granddaughter move between humans and aliens with equal ease, translating not just words but entire ways of thinking. "Your Majesty," his chief weapons officer said carefully, "shall we begin the attack?" Emperor Daiho did not answer. He was remembering something from long ago, from before he became emperor. When he was young, he had dreamed of exploring new worlds, of discovering new forms of life. But duty had trapped him on his throne, and over the centuries those dreams had died. Now he saw humans living those dreams. They reached for the stars not to conquer them, but to dance among them. "Your Majesty?" the officer asked again. "Stand down," Emperor Daiho said quietly. "Sir, I said stand down." The Emperor's voice grew stronger. "Lower our weapons. Open a communication channel to Princess Nari." The bridge fell silent. No one had expected this. The Emperor had come here to destroy the human threat, not to surrender to it. Nari's face appeared on the main screen. She looked older than when he had exiled her, but there was a peace in her eyes that she had never possessed as a princess. "Father," she said simply. "I have made many mistakes," Emperor Daiho said, each word painful to speak, "but none greater than casting you out for seeing truth where I saw only threat." Across the solar system, millions of beings watched as the most powerful ruler in the galaxy struggled to find the right words. "These humans," Emperor Daiho continued, "they are not primitives, are they? No, father, they never were. And you tried to tell me, but I would not listen." "Pride can make us blind," Nari said gently. "But it is never too late to open our eyes." Emperor Daiho looked at Sumin, who stood beside her mother. His granddaughter watched him with curiosity rather than fear. She had grown up knowing him, only through stories, but she showed no hatred for the grandfather who had rejected her before she was born. "Child," Emperor Daiho said to Sumin, "can you forgive an old fool?" "There is nothing to forgive, grandfather," Sumin replied. "You were protecting something you believed in. Now, you can help build something better." The Emperor's crystal throne flickered with changing colors as his emotions shifted. Around the galaxy, beings held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. "I formally withdraw all claims against humanity," Emperor Daiho announced. "I recognize Earth as a sovereign world and humans as equal partners in galactic civilization." Cheers erupted from the progressive coalition ships. But Emperor Daiho was not finished. "More than that," he continued, "I request that humanity teach us their ways. We have grown stagnant in our perfection. We have forgotten how to dream. Perhaps it is time for the old to learn from the young." Admiral Chen at Luna Base could hardly believe what he was hearing. "Your Majesty," he said over the communication channel, "humanity would be honored to share our knowledge and learn from yours." But it was Jiwon who spoke next, his voice carrying across space from the orbital station. "Your Majesty, with respect, we do not want to teach anyone to be like us. We want to learn together. Each species has something unique to offer. The goal is not to make everyone the same, but to help everyone become the best version of themselves." Emperor Daiho stared at this human who had won his daughter's heart. There was no arrogance in Jiwan's voice, no desire to lord his species' achievements over others. There was only genuine desire to help and learn. "You truly are a remarkable species," Emperor Daiho said with wonder. Over the following months, the galaxy began to transform. The rigid hierarchy alliance, seeing that even the mighty Vorthon Empire had embraced change, slowly began to reconsider their positions. Some species chose to maintain their traditional ways, and that choice was respected, but many others opened themselves to new possibilities. Suman became the first official ambassador to the new Galactic Cooperation Council, a democratic body that replaced the old authoritarian system. Her unique perspective as a hybrid allowed her to help different species understand each other in ways that had never been possible before. Dr. Yunwoo Kim and Dr. Minji Park found themselves leading joint research projects with scientists from hundreds of worlds. Human ingenuity combined with alien knowledge produced breakthroughs that amazed everyone involved. But perhaps the most important changes were smaller, more personal ones. Emperor Daiho stepped down from his throne, passing leadership of the Vorthon territories to a democratically elected council. For the first time in thousands of years, Vorthons could choose their own leaders, their own paths, their own dreams. The former emperor moved to Earth, where he rented a small apartment near his daughter's family. He spent his days learning about human culture, marveling at their diversity and creativity. Children in the neighborhood knew him simply as Grandfather Daiho, the kind old alien who told amazing stories about distant worlds. Nari continued her work as a translator and cultural bridge. But now she did it openly, helping to establish embassies and cultural exchange programs throughout the galaxy. Her exile had ended, but she chose to remain on Earth, the world that had become her true home. Jiwan became director of the new Interspecies Engineering Institute, where humans and aliens worked together to solve the great challenges facing galactic civilization. Under his leadership, they developed clean energy systems, advanced medical treatments, and technologies that helped species communicate and cooperate like never before. And Suman grew into her role as a leader of the new galaxy. She established schools where children from different species could learn together. She created art festivals that celebrated the unique beauty each culture brought to the galactic community. She proved every day that diversity was not a weakness to be controlled, but a strength to be celebrated. 5 years after the confrontation in Earth's solar system, the galaxy was unrecognizable. War had not been eliminated, but it had become rare. Poverty still existed, but cooperative efforts were steadily reducing it. Fear of the unknown had given way to excitement about discovery. On a warm evening in Seoul, 4 generations of a remarkable family sat together in a small apartment. Emperor Daiho, now simply Grandfather Daiho, bounced his newest great-grandchild on his knee. The baby was fully human, born to Sumin and her husband Tae-hyung, a human engineer she had met at the Interspecies Institute. "Tell us about the old days, Grandfather," the older children begged. "Tell us about when the galaxy was divided and species could not be friends." "That was a sad time," Daiho said, looking at his mixed family with wonder. "But it led to this beautiful time. Sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in the hardest lessons." Nari smiled as she watched her father tell stories to children who saw nothing strange about having an alien grandfather. This was the future she had dreamed of when she chose love over duty all those years ago. Outside the window, ships from a dozen different worlds moved through Earth's sky. They carried students, tourists, diplomats, and dreamers. They carried the hopes of a galaxy that had finally learned to embrace its infinite diversity. The stars no longer divided the peoples of the galaxy. They connected them, each point of light a reminder that somewhere out there, someone different was reaching toward the same dreams. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had taught it to conquer itself, to overcome fear and prejudice, and the tired old ways that led nowhere but stagnation. In the end, the greatest victory was not won with weapons or technology, but with something much simpler and much more powerful. The courage to believe that everyone, no matter how different they seemed, had something beautiful to contribute to the cosmic dance of life. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and finally, everyone was free to explore them together,